Jason, if my heart gives out, tell Rage Select that I love them all, except for like two of them, and then let them fight over which two.
No, Jeff, you're going to tell them yourself. You're going to be there.
Yeah, I just
talk like that.
I just got done with my 32-ounce coffee or whatever it is, and then I was like, I thought I had a little bit of time to like hit the coffee doldrums and then like go walk my dog, get my blood pumping stuff, then come back up. And Jason's just like, no, we're going now. Fuck it, we'll do it live. So
do it live.
Welcome everybody to the Rage Select podcast here on RageSelect.com. I am Rage Select, and with me as always is Rage Select. Jason, where are you? What fictitious, what real life planet are you actually on this week?
Okay, this is going to sound a little weird, all right? It gets a little wacky, but stick with me.
Okay.
Stick with me.
Okay.
I was out, shooting through the cosmos like you do, having a good time. I was listening to some Dead Boys, just jamming some old punk, and got the navigation system back online. And then I came across this thing. It looked like a phone booth, just like floating out in space.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. And like this skinny guy, he's a British dude, he steps out and he doesn't really notice me and he steps back inside. So I'm okay. Long story short, don't judge me.
Yeah.
I may have stolen this thing. It's just like a police call box in London. I took it. I just fucking took it. I borrowed it. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to take it back.
Wait. Are you telling me that you just hijacked Bill and Ted? Is that what you're telling me?
Close, similar. It's a lot like that, but it's really way roomier than that phone booth thing.
Oh, okay.
It's bigger on the inside. Weird?
Does it have a George Carlin that comes with it? That's really what you need to know. Nope. Just a lot of weird gadgets and everything. And so I used it for the greater good. Okay.
I'm going to give it back. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to give it back. But I used it for the greater good. What would any heroic man use? Because this thing can time travel, dude. That's what I'm getting at here.
Okay.
This thing can time travel. And through space. Time and space is my bitch. I mean, time and space, my bitch.
Right.
What would any heroic male use such a device for?
Go back in time and be the first person to invent bacon.
Okay, good. But better.
Go back in time and get a handy J from the Big Bang.
You are getting closer, sir. I, being a married man, am using this brilliant device to get my friend laid. That's right. It's you, sir.
Oh, it's me.
I have picked up a nice young lady, and she doesn't speak.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for the other part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she does, but it's not like any existing. It's mostly like clicks and whistles and grunts. She walks upright.
Okay.
Most of the time. Her name is Ugnuk. I think it either means that's her name or that means she has to poop.
Okay.
I'm not sure which. But listen, let me tell you, these Australopithecines, they are down to fuck, man.
Well, of course. They don't have PlayStation 4s or iPhones or any of that shit. All they've got is the new thing, the new shit, fire, right? And fucking.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Fucking in the fire.
What better way to get Jeff some prehistoric strange than to travel back in time and pick up an Australopithecine, and you can dazzle her with all of your podcasting wizardry, my friend. And that BC vagina is just going to open right up.
See, I love the idea of this because what it means is that now you all are coming to the startling realization. I'm all of your grandfathers.
That's right.
You all came from me.
Jeff, the father of humanity.
That's right. I'm going to shake my cane and say, get off my lawn. And they'll be like, who? Everyone! Everyone get off my lawn. Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, as long as her forehead ridge isn't like super pronounced and, you do say she's walking upright. Well,
Most of the time.
I've dated worse. I think that's all right. I think it's fine.
She's easily amused. She's a cheap fucking date. You just throw her out into like the fucking woods.
Yeah.
And she just starts eating shit and she's just happy as a clam.
I gotta tell you, man, if you've got a magic box that lets you travel through time and space, somewhere there's gotta be that planet of the weird Amazons where there are no men and they're just waiting for dudes to show up. And then it's like the castle in Holy Grail where it's just a bunch of ladies and they're all DDF all the time. Why don't we go there instead of picking up some monkey out of the muck of prehistory? And, why don't we go to the land of the space nymphos instead? I mean, if you got some shit that's just infinite, you've got a box full of infinity, I think we can do better than barely evolved monkey bitches. So
monkey bitches, Jeff, pre-human is the preferred nomenclature. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be insensitive. I really did.
Millions of years of evolution, and we've got Jeff oppressing people.
That's right.
Calling them monkey bitches.
Yep.
I'm ashamed to know you. This nice young lady has not been exposed to any of the STDs of the modern world.
Right.
She's clean. Now, she might have some, like, fucking dinosaur herpes. I don't know.
That's what you get when you make out with a triceratops. You get dinosaur herpes. That's just what happens.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not going to put the whole prehistoric Paleolithic herpes thing solely on the triceratops.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it's primarily a triceratops disease, and I'm not a triceratops, so I don't have to worry about it. No, dinosaur herpes affects everyone. But oh,
that's our next
wrap your Jimmy up in a pteranodon wing skin condom, and you'll be fine.
Okay, all right. How is she with the club? That's really they get her to defeat my enemies for me, drive the human race before me.
Dude, I think. Let's just say I have been giving her hate lessons against Anita Sarkeesian.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a story later on that's bound to come up that has something in.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Maybe so. We got to wait till we get to the questions. But before we start, we've got so little news right now. And so, Jason, have you done anything in the last 7 days that is noteworthy or notable or discussionable for this podcast?
I went to see Harmontown.
What the hell is that? Was that where
Harmontown? Dan
Harmon lives? Harmontown?
Dan Harmon, the creator of Community, runs a live podcast. Imagine that Dan Harmon, the creator of the television show Community, and soon to be the Yahoo show of Community, had a live podcast that he where you could go and sit in the audience with a bunch of other 20 and 30 something nerdy white people and watch him do the podcast. And that is what I did this last weekend.
So you watched Dan Harmon podcast.
Yeah.
And the best you got for me is Cro-Magnon ladies. Come on, man. You should be tearing this thing to the ground at this point.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. So wait. So, I mean, does his podcast have like a specific point or anything? Or is it just, it's part of this whole like, now that podcasting isn't a geek thing anymore, everybody's got to have podcasts. It's stupid.
Oh, Dan Harmon is a geek.
Yeah.
Make no mistake.
Oh, yeah.
It was quite geeky. But yeah, it was funny. You can actually, I think they've already uploaded the episode where I was in the audience. And they talked a little bit about Robin Williams and then ranted about the government for a while based on the whole bullshit that's going on in Ferguson. And And then they made up new lyrics to Ramblin' Man, I think was the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
But then at the end of every episode, they played Dungeons and Dragons.
For how long?
Oh, man, 15, 20 minutes, something like that.
Wow.
Not long.
Okay.
And it is some ridiculous shit. But it's a lot of fun. But we were stacked in there like cordwood, and it started smelling like sweaty nerd for a minute, after a while. And it was extraordinarily uncomfortable. It was still a good time. I'm glad I went. But it's a great podcast, and it's fun. Yeah, you guys should check it out.
What is your gut reaction to when a place starts smelling like sweaty nerd too much?
It's just like, fuck, I got to get out of here. This is going to be like troll blood. The stench just doesn't come off. And so I went outside, I burned my clothes.
Right.
And I got an Uber home naked.
Okay.
You can Uber naked, by the way.
What does that mean? I don't even understand what you're saying to me. Is that like teleportation? Did you learn how to do that from the box, or
you haven't used Uber?
What's Uber? I've Uber charged.
Uber is the shit, man. Uber's like a cab service, right?
Okay.
You download an app on your phone. You never handle any cash. And there are people who sign up for this service. Uber, and a competitor is Lyft, Lyft. But you got an Uber app on your phone. You flag somebody, they will accept if in your area, and then you can watch them on the map as they get closer to you.
Okay.
And this is like a citizen, not some fucking scary cabbie with an attitude and a collection of human skin masks at home.
Right.
And their cars have to be clean and black.
Okay.
And so, you watch them. You can watch them on the map. You see them pull up. You hop in. They take you to your destination. And it gives you the charge. And then you can tip them and rate them all on your phone.
Okay.
And you do not have to handle cash or haggle or negotiate or anything like that. You just do it all on your phone. You have a nice ride, and that's that.
So you still pay for it. It's still a taxi.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What? You think you suck the guy off at the end?
I'm trying to figure out
why, thank you, citizen, for your communist travel manifesto here.
I'm trying to figure out what's so innovative about this. This is just like letting people be cabbies without having to get cab certified in scary cab school. So,
dude, you know how hard it is to get a cab in Austin?
No. It's
amazingly hard.
Okay.
It is ridiculously hard. Seriously, download the Uber app and try this weekend. I think you'll like it.
Okay.
It is because getting a cab in Austin is basically like sitting out on a street corner and saying, hey, I want Jessica Alba to come along so I can go down to her secret valley and munch on her lady parts. That's about how difficult getting a cab is, because you know what? Jessica Alba ain't showing up, and neither is the fucking cab.
Can I get that on my phone, too? Can I get that Jessica Alba app on my phone? Because I think I'd rather have that than your Uber, whatever this thing is.
No, but that gives me a really good investment opportunity. Rate Select listeners, watch for the Kickstarter. I think this is going to be the next big thing.
I heard one time about a service where these guys had like motorized scooters, and if you were within a certain radius or whatever, they had bikes or something like that. That they would come to where you were, and they would drive your car home with you, and then they would get on their bike or their motorized scooter or whatever it was, and then just fucking book out from there. And I'm like, that is the shit that I want, because
that sounds pretty rad.
Getting back to your car the next day, that's the part that's no bueno. I mean, one time I left my car at Jason's house, and it took me like 2 days to get back down there to get it. I just left it there. It's like,
and that's happened both ways.
Yeah.
That my car and your car, they're sluts. They are sluts. They have been in every friend's driveway.
Oh, sure.
For like days. slutty slut cars.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, try Uber. It's way better than cabs.
Okay.
The Austin cab mafia has been trying to fight them for the longest time, and I think they just lost.
Okay.
And that's true. Look it up. But yeah, like a lot of major cities have them. And dude, it's just totally badass. Like Brian and I were sitting at a bar on Hoth. It was cold. We were drinking Hoth toddies.
Right. Oh, God. Come on, man. Come on.
See what I did there?
That's not allowed. You take that shit somewhere else, motherfucker.
Actually, Allison made a drink. We had a Star Wars themed drink party a couple of years ago, and Kayla made a Dagobah, which I didn't want to drink because it looked fucking dangerous. Because it had like smoke and shit coming out of it, and Allison made a Hoth toddy.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, no, we're sitting on Hoth, and Brian's like, "Hey, check this out," and he shows me on his phone. He's like, "Look, Uber." And I'm like, "What are we? Is that the cab?" And he's like, "Kind of." And we're watching it approach, and then we hop out, have a little conversation. Take a little ride to our next destination, and then Brian like taps a few things on his phone to determine how much to tip the guy, and that's that. No cash was exchanged. You pay for it, but yeah, I sound like such a shill, but God, it's a great service. It's awesome.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I probably could have used that last week because there were some folks here in town that had come in. I don't know. It's those guys that all had that murder house a few years ago. Decided to come back in town and get another murder house this year.
Yeah. The 13.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I went there. You never went there. I went there. That was a shit show, man.
Oh no, I went there.
You did?
Oh yeah, a couple times actually.
I went there, dude. I saw titties. There were people fucking. Lots of drunk nerds.
Yep.
It was something else. Lots of titties.
But this year,
so maybe it wasn't all bad. But
I mean, you got to see tits. Come on.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've got the internet, but hey, it's like, you could show me on the internet, like, Jason, here, you can't get up from this chair until you look at 10,000 boobs, and I will look at the 10,000 boobs, and then I will go to the bar and like, listen, man, I had to look at all these boobs all day.
Yeah.
Could I get a whiskey? And then the bartender could say, yeah, but first I want to show you my boobs, and I'd be like, okay.
I like that somebody sits you down at a table, they put a gun to your head, they're like, you have to look at 10,000 boobs. You're like, what do I do with the other 25 minutes? What the fuck are you talking about? It's nothing. But yes, I went out on last Friday. They had a thing over at Mr. Tramp's, which I'm not a big fan of that bar, but whatever.
It's okay.
It's all right. I mean, there are divier bars that are closer to my house and cheaper. But I got so drunk that I rapped, Jason.
What?
So people got to see me rap. Well, sort of. I did karaoke of the Bane rap,
No.
Yes.
Did you do it in the voice?
Oh, yeah. I put my hand over the microphone, affected my best Tom Hardy, and did the Bane rap. And apparently, there was some guy that was there. I'm sorry, dude. I cannot remember your name. I know you told me, but I was drunk every time we met. It was like filming a bunch of people because there's a bunch of people doing a bunch of different karaoke things. And it was funny because there actually is no karaoke version of I'm Bane. And so I was like, just pull the video up and skip to the part where he starts rapping and then turn me up. I know the words. I don't need it. I know the words. That's right. And like he was taping everybody. And then I saw him again on Sunday and I was like, so do you have a video of me doing that? And he's like, no, my phone just stopped working at that point. And I was like, I was so awesome. I broke his phone.
Dude, I think Dongacles intervened to save you because you are loyal to the Dong Lord. And I think that Dongacles was like, if this gets out there, Rage Select is finished.
You know what, Jason? Listen, we've already had 2 weeks on this website, and not this week, but the 2 weeks previously, where there was a feature where I sat down and drank like 5 beers in like an hour and then recorded me playing video games. And so I'm already to the point now where it's like, yeah, you guys have pretty much seen well, they've seen the beginning of the worst of Jeff. I'm sure eventually we'll get there, but
yeah, truth time though. Most of the time these people have heard my voice. I am at least 5 beers in. Right now, no exception.
Yep.
But Jeff is he drinks in a punctuated kind of way.
It's funny that, like, okay, so I don't know if you've ever just sat down. I mean, this is recording for Jeff versus Beer is not like, yeah, I'm going to go to the bar for a while, and then I'm going to come home once I got a nice buzz on to hang out. No. What happens is I get, like, 2 beers, like 2 Lone Stars out of my fridge, and I bring them up here, I open the first one, and basically sit here, like, forcing myself to drink it as fast as I can. And usually by about the 3rd one, I've got a pretty good head of steam going. I can get through 3 through 5 pretty easily, but I was actually a little bit frightened at how easy it was for me to go through that many beers in that short of a time. Because usually you're at the bar, right? And you're like, oh, well, I don't want to look like an alcoholic, so I'm not going to chug this. And
I usually just order the beer anyway and say, fuck you, don't judge me.
Well, I mean, plus at the bar, you're not trying to drink as fast as you possibly can. Whereas
you have just taken your first step into a larger world.
The world of alcoholism.
I don't know why we got to put labels on it.
Oh man,
I don't know why you got to get all judgy with it.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, so this week, instead of Jeff versus Beer, we've got Grant versus caffeine or Grant versus coffee. I haven't put it up yet.
Wait, what? Why not Grant versus beer? That motherfucker drinks a lot of beer.
No, dude, like, you don't even know. I mean, by the time this goes up, you may know, but it was weird. Like, Grant went to Starbucks and got a coffee, you know, the kind that doesn't do jack shit for me anymore. And he drank, like, half of it, and he couldn't sit still. He was, like, vibrating, and he was just like... He's on a show called The Beerist. I'm sure the dude could drink 4 or 5 beers, no problem, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen Grant, like, sheets into the wind. I've seen him moderately intoxicated, but I don't think I've ever seen Grant, like, wasted or anything before.
You know, that's a good point. I have known Grant for several years now, and I don't think I've ever seen him just, like, shit hammered.
Yeah.
I have seen... I'm going through a mental list of everyone that our listeners know.
You've seen all of them shit hammered.
I have seen them all shit hammered. Every one of them.
Yep.
Usually it's me.
Yeah.
You know, Cargill, yeah. You, yeah. Allison, of course.
Sure.
Yeah. Fungus Monkey, absolutely. But Grant?
Yeah.
Nope. Grant's just pretty even keel, even though dude takes in a lot of beer.
Yep.
He calls it, I don't know, he knows his limits. And now that I think about it, I'm taking that as a personal challenge.
What, you want to get Grant wasted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I want to see that guy just embarrassingly stupid, piss your pants drunk, because he's getting a little too high on his horse there.
Uh-huh.
He thinks he's better than us. He's like, well, I never get shitty. These ruffians, these amateurs. No, I'm going to take him down.
That sounds exactly like Grant. This is the spitting image of what Grant sounds like.
Yeah. I'm taking Grant down.
Yeah.
We're going to get him plowed.
Okay.
Hopefully, no promises. Hopefully it's not when he's with his kid. But, you know, hey.
Oh, well, you know what? I think that we've dicked around enough. You said we got a very short amount of news this week, but I think that we should get into it.
This is about video games.
Yeah, sometimes we talk about video games. I mean,
I forgot about that.
We can go over our own proclivities but no, seriously, if you ever really want to see Grant impaired, just give him a triple shot mocha frappuccino, and he's just like,
Cornolio.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so I've got 5 stories, and none of them are very good. I'm sorry, Gamescom just totally blew the shit out of the water.
That was a pretty good week for news, though. I mean,
yeah.
God, you know what? Gamescom had more interesting stuff come out of it than E3 did, in my opinion.
Maybe. Yeah, there was more kind of off the beaten path. I think the E3, one of the problems with it was that it just had to be so much like, there's going to be a Call of Duty. There's going to be a Battlefield. There's going to be... Yeah, exactly. Hey, at least at Gamescom, we didn't have to put up with like 30 minutes worth of studio footage because nobody had any gameplay, EA.
All right, give us our first article of news.
All right,
Jeff,
these are gonna go.
Throw it at me.
These are gonna go really quickly. So you remember last week we talked about that share play thing on the PS4?
Yes.
So they've said now that it's going to be limited to 1 hour increments.
Okay.
But there's also a thing saying there's no limit on the number of times friends can play the game. So I don't know if it's going to be like a cooldown time or whatever. But the longer that I think about this particular thing, the more I like it. The more I just dig the whole concept. I mean, we've had consoles that have we've had consoles that have had Facebook connectivity, and that's just been how do you feel about Facebook connectivity on consoles where PlayStation gets to post a bunch of Uncharted trophies to your Facebook wall, Jason?
Do not agree.
Okay.
No.
Yep.
Fuck all of you. Everyone involved, bend over and take your giant metal fist right in your butthole.
Yep. There's been some things that have had Twitter integration or blah, 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 blah. Fuck a bunch of that. Even the share button on the PlayStation 4, like I don't really watch that much streaming of other people just because I like to try to keep it fresh. Don't want to
Also, you don't have time.
Well, there's that too. But I really like the idea of being able to, like, normally when I boot up my console and I see who's online on my friends list, it's like, yeah, so-and-so is playing blurgity-blurg. Like, if my friend had got a game that I hadn't played, like, your friend is playing The Witcher 3, and I'm, oh, shit, I haven't played The Witcher 3 yet. I wonder if it's any good. And just be able to go, like, boop, and, like, watch them play The Witcher 3. Not a stream, but have the actual game client download, which I know was going to take a bunch of time anyway. But actually just sit there and watch them, or be like, hey, man, can I try this for a second? They're like, yeah, here, boop, boop, I think that's an incredibly savvy social thing to do. That
hey, I gotta say that if any of you, if I'm streaming, and you know what, I decided the other day, because I got the PS4, I'm gonna start streaming like a lot.
Oh,
yeah, I'm just gonna do it. Okay. I think my PlayStation handle I think is Jason Rage Select. I gotta double check that.
Well, if you want, I mean, if you want to do that, let's talk when we're not recording, and maybe we can give you like a little. We could make it like a menu item where it just lights up red if you're online or something like that.
Yeah. But if I'm like playing a game and one of you troglodytes says, "Hey, Jason, you're having some trouble because you suck. I can finish this level." Just take those words and then swallow them back down, and then go into your bathroom and find your razor and cut your fucking throat. Okay. Because I don't want to hear it.
Well, see, I tell you what,
everyone's going to see how bad I suck, which is less. I suck less than when I'm on Rage Select, because I'm usually just trying to entertain people, and all that. Well, let me take a step back.
Yeah.
Did I tell the story about how I got owned on Mario Kart by a Playboy model?
No. I don't believe. I think you told me that Greg Grunberg owed you in Mario Kart, but I don't think you talked about Playboy models owning you in Mario Kart.
This happened.
Okay.
I'm not proud of it.
Mm-hmm. Which one? No, give us a name. Give us the name.
Pamela Horton.
Pamela Horton. Boom.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was sitting there. So I've been appearing somewhat regularly this summer on Socialtron Live, which is a Twitch stream run by Greg Grunberg of Heroes and Masters of Sex and Felicity and all that. And at one point, I ended up playing a Mario Kart match thinking, I'm going to go in and wreck some shit and make these people all feel stupid.
Right.
Guess who felt stupid, Jeff?
You did.
Guess who felt stupid? I did.
You did.
Turns out, I don't have any Mario Kart mojo anymore. At one time, I must have. Not anymore. It's gone.
I think you're
flushed down the toilet.
I think you're just out of practice.
Probably so, because when I was playing, when you let me borrow the Wii U and I was playing with Allison, it was like Allison was winning, and then after a few minutes, I was like, oh no, I'm back, and then it just wasn't any fun anymore because I was just like tearing ass, right? But I was playing with actually 2 Playboy models and like one other dude. I don't remember who. And I don't remember the other Playboy model's name. I'm sorry. She's a very nice lady. I was playing, and Pamela, or Pam, was trying to explain the game to someone else who wasn't playing. And I was listening to her, and I was like, oh, she actually really knows her shit. She knows what everything does. And then I realized she was coming in first, like every time. And then someone says, oh, yeah, Pam's internationally ranked. It's like at one point you could look at the worldwide Mario Kart 8 rankings, and there were a bunch of Japanese names and then one English name, and it was her.
I'm sorry, Jason, I can't hear what you're saying anymore. I'm on MissPamelaHorton.com. Close this up.
And so she leaves, and I was just like, well, I didn't know I was bitching, being me. Like, I didn't know I was going to be playing with Miss Nationally Ranked. And she turns around, she goes, internationally ranked. And then she just fucking walks off.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah. This was all like live. And meanwhile, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just going to detach my testicles and throw them in that dumpster over there because I'm done. I'm done.
You're just, it's okay. Listen, you're just in the same place that we all are, Jason. Well, some of us are, which is the fact that like you don't have a billion years a day to devote to video games, and you don't have the reflexes of a fucking teenager to devote to video games. And you don't have an infinite amount of time to devote to video games. Fuck,
that
man.
may be true.
I don't even have an infinite amount of time to do. Yesterday, I didn't have anything that I had to put up on the website because of our recording schedule this week. I sat down and beat 3 games that I've been meaning to beat, and that was what I did yesterday, was because I don't even have the time to beat games anymore. Anyway, back to this.
It's a hard life, dude.
Back to the news. No, well, it is.
Hashtag Ferguson.
No, okay, listen, I'm not comparing the two, motherfucker. All I'm saying is that, like, people are like, oh, my God, you run your own game website. That sounds like a dream job. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, it would be if I ever had the time to actually play a fucking video game. Meh.
Hashtag yes, all gamers.
Okay, enough of that. There's actually, before we move on, there's actually a story this week, speaking of the PS4, that they're going to be adding a bunch of stuff to that, what do they call it, share room or whatever on the PS4?
Playroom?
Yeah. Where you can actually, apparently you can like import music and video clips and make like a soundtrack. So you could actually like put on like a real kind of low rent TV show using that application with the PlayStation camera, where you can just be like, hey everybody, welcome to my balls channel. Here's my balls. Boop. And then you like play the My Balls song off an MP3 player, and
it will immediately get muted by Twitch because you're using copyrighted music.
Yeah, My Balls by Pink. I don't know who sings My Balls. That's a weird one.
There's got to be a song out there called My Balls.
I'm sure. I'm sure. All right, so next up, since this is the longest news we've ever done, so I don't know if we reported on this, Jason, but the Microsoft Entertainment Studios got shut down, basically, or downsized the fuck out of a little while back. Yeah. The whole entertainment division. A while back, it was about a month ago, they announced it was like 18,000 layoffs from that division.
Yeah. Mostly in Finland, actually.
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of them were in Finland, from what I understand.
Well, apparently they're looking to sell their entertainment studios division. and they're in preliminary talks with Warner Brothers and a few other things. I mean, apparently this isn't going to have any effect on Halo Nightfall or the actual Quantum Break live-action tie-in stuff. But I wonder, I mean, is this place coming with a bunch of projects, or are they just selling off a studio? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
That's a good question. Like, I don't know.
No, the talent, dude, they're probably already like looking for or already employed in other places.
It just it seems odd to me that Microsoft of all people can't get together like an entertainment division, right? Well,
they're in the stock market. They have been taking some huge hits, and the shareholders are king. Mm-hmm. And so this may have been done to appease the shareholders. You see that happen at any publicly traded company. So this they might have been doing okay, as an individual unit.
Yeah.
But they also may have been like a sacrificial lamb. And of course, I'm not like an investment strategist or an economist or anything like that, or financial analyst, but it may have been like, okay, well, let's start shedding some weight. Where can we start? Oh, yeah. All of these people over here, just get rid of them. They're not losing a lot of money, but they're not making a lot of money. So that'll look good as long as we drop ballast. Mm-hmm. Then hopefully Wall Street will say, "Oh, good," and everything will go up a little bit more. Even though that seems really counterproductive to producing things and generating money. That is one of the emergency moves that you see from publicly traded companies, that they will just shed weight. Not even dead weight, but just weight.
Mm-hmm. I personally wonder if it has anything to do with the overall sales figures of. Well, you said that Microsoft. See, I don't keep up with a lot of investment news, so I don't know if Microsoft is having financial woes, if that's due to the OS division, or if that's due to the Xbox division, or it's kind of it's like one of those things where the PlayStation is doing well, but Sony's taking a bath on TVs, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I wonder how separate those divisions are. I really don't know. It's like, okay, if let's say if a Spider-Man movie, which is owned by Sony, if Amazing Spider-Man 2 does poorly, which it didn't really do poorly, but it didn't perform to expectations, how does that impact PlayStation?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
Neither do I.
But it's curious, and how does that influence Sony televisions and so forth? I don't know. It's like, can PlayStation make up for lost revenue for their Sony Picture stuff, or are those two so separate? I'm actually really interested. So if any of our listeners know about that, maybe chime in and give us what you think.
Sure. Yeah. Financial analysts. The financial analysts of Rage Select. I know you've got a group on the side.
I bet we've got a couple.
Oh, probably.
We got all types, man.
All right. Well, next up in my paltry news cycle, this is actually something that was rumored during the summertime from a Russian retailer, but and it's still not confirmed. But apparently on Xbox.com, there was some Resident Evil Revelations 2 box art that was seen.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And there's no, let's see, there's no. This is one of those things where they reached out to Capcom and said, "Oh, Capcom, you want to say anything about this?" Capcom's like, we don't want to say anything about this. Probably going to see this at TGS. But it's interesting because Resident Evil Revelations I liked that game. Like, I thought it was a pretty good Resident Evil game from at least what I played. I played it a little bit on the console, and I played a little bit on the PC. I'd like to see. I mean, I never got to the end, so I don't know what happened, because eventually all Resident Evil stories devolve into just stupidity. Where
I'm actually sitting here trying to think of, when was the last time I gave a shit about Resident Evil?
Was it Resident Evil 5?
It was Resident Evil 4.
Really?
Yeah. I think so.
You didn't care about 5?
I didn't really play 5 all that much. I played the teaser and then a little bit of the actual game, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like the franchise has lost its way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, 6 is a competent game. I see what they were trying to do, but it's
not a Resident Evil game.
It speaks a lot to. It speaks a lot to the problem of game development, or just of media development in general. Say, like, all right, so you're trying a thing out, you hit that thing. The thing is a hit, right? You got Resident Evil 1. Boom, that's great. Resident Evil 2, it's the same as Resident Evil 1, but it's bigger, and there's more stuff, and there's more interesting stuff. Great. Resident Evil 3, now you're kind of trying to make it a little bit bigger than Resident Evil 2, but then there's some other stuff in there, and you get Nemesis, and like, oh, this will be the thing. And people are like, oh, okay, all right. I just feel like they've reached that point, right, where Resident Evil the series has enough baggage of that's what Wesker did that one time, and that's what Leon did that one time, that they have to take all that bullshit into account. And I feel like at a certain point, it's I personally feel like part of Resident Evil 6's problem, at least that I had with it, was that there was too much of it that was trying to kind of relive the magic of Resident Evil. To be honest, I don't really give a shit if Chris, Leon, or Shiva Almar, or Jill Valentine, or Claire Redfield. I don't care if any of them are in the game. I don't give a shit. You can make a Resident Evil game that's got George whoever,
Costanza,
right? Costanza, sure. I would actually like to see a Resident Evil game with a bigger guy, a larger, out of shape dude as the main character.
Yeah, instead of some skater-haired badass with a military vest and awesome skills with the knife and the nunchucks.
Right. I mean, but see, I guess the thing is that at least Resident Evil Revelations tended to be hewing closer to OG Resident Evil. It was a little bit more. It was a little bit more deliberate, and I like the way that it felt when I played it. So,
yeah, give me something scary. Give me something that's not bogged down with mythology.
Yeah,
give me something creepy and slow that is not an action game. It's like, go back to why people originally liked Resident Evil.
It's funny because what I was saying last week is we were talking about they announced that Resident Evil, it might have been 2 weeks ago when they announced that Resident Evil, they were redoing the first Resident Evil, right?
Yeah.
And I was bitching about the tank controls. Somebody came in the comments, they're like, tank controls aren't so bad. They actually make the game scarier because it's harder to control your character. And I talked to the person, I was just like, yeah, I've actually made that argument myself, that I feel like that having a character that's not able to do flips and shit makes the game scarier because you're more in peril. And I honestly think that if you took like the kind of the movement style of Resident Evil 4 where you can't shoot and run at the same time, and the aiming is that laser so that it's got a lot more tenseness to it, but then give the player like a shortage of resources like you saw in the original Resident Evil, because Resident Evil 4 was good and I love it, but it was way more of an action game because of the amount of bullets that they gave you in that game.
Right, yeah.
Whereas,
make it go back to survival horror.
Mm-hmm.
Just make it scary again. I think they can. I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, me and you are sitting here figuring out what they need to do, and we're right.
That's right.
So I'm sure they have an idea, but maybe it's just like, oh, Call of Duty is the future, so we have to make things more like Call of Duty. No, don't do that.
Plus, I always really worry that companies look at the companies like Capcom that have these properties look at DMC and go, oh God, no, don't. I don't want to have to deal with that. When people are like, did you see the redesign of Leon Kennedy? He's stupid looking now.
Leon always parts his hair on the left. Everybody knows that.
And it's interesting because I think that it's funny how when DMC came out and fans of Devil May Cry were so pissed off about it, it didn't sell like super, super well. I mean, I'm looking here, at least VG Charts, which we all know is dubious, says about 1 million worldwide copies sold.
Is that bad? That's a pretty big number.
Well, let's see what Devil May Cry 4 sold. Let's see, Devil May Cry 4. According to this, Devil May Cry 4 was about 2.86 million worldwide. So that's, almost a third of what that one was.
Yeah, that's no good. Well, it may have been where people honestly just didn't know that it was a Devil May Cry game.
I don't know. I attribute some of that to that. I think there was actually a fair amount of backlash from people who just didn't want anything to do with it. But you know what? I'm here on this show every week telling people, hey, if you don't like a thing, don't buy it. Vote with your dollar. So if they vote with their dollar and people didn't buy a thing and I did buy the thing, but it didn't make enough money, whatever, that's what happens. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you really like a thing and it doesn't sell. But yeah. I think that I'd rather play... I guess what I'm getting at here is I'd rather play Resident Evil Revelations 2 than Resident Evil 7. Much rather play that.
Resident Evil Revelations 2 than Resident Evil's. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah.
Because 6 was just meh. All right, next up. Apparently, there's an interview. This is just kind of a nifty little tidbit about No Man's Sky. Where
cool.
They, let's see, Sean Murray over at Hello Games said that the universe in No Man's Sky is infinite when it was talked about. But he came back in this recent interview and said that it actually isn't infinite. But this is his quote about the 32-bit number that they use to automatically generate the planets in the game. With that 32-bit number, it would take you 4,000 or 5,000 years to see every planet if you spent only 1 second on each planet.
That's fantastic, and I'm glad he clarified that, because there would be some whiny bitch going, well, technically it isn't infinite. And then I'd have to hunt that person down and murder them in front of their mom and then urinate on their corpse, because who fucking cares? For all intents and purposes, it's infinite. And I'm okay if he still keeps calling it infinite, but that kind of makes me sad, because that means that I cannot be a galactic overlord and conquer everything.
That just gives me the twitches, like facial twitches, because I'm like, but you gotta go to every planet, man. I gotta go to I gotta catch them all. Is there a trophy for going to every planet? It takes you 4,000 years to get. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And finally, last, in a story that will warm all of the darkest places in your dark soul, Jason, Sega has moved to settle in the class action lawsuit that was brought against Aliens Colonial Marines to the tune of $1.25 million.
Yes!
Now, you should not cheer too much, because let me give you the breakdown here. If this motion is accepted, the plaintiffs, Jerk Off and Stupid Face, would receive $2,500 each. $312,500 would be used to cover the attorney fees. Administration fees would be $200,000, which leaves a grand total of $735,000 left to be divvied up among members of the class action lawsuit, with each share not exceeding $59.99. And if the breakdown that I'm reading here is correct, at roughly 135,000 people in that class action lawsuit, that means that each person's going to get just about $5.44 in payout.
That's fine. It's not about the plaintiffs benefiting. Mm-hmm. It's about saying, fuck you, Sega. We're not going to put up with this shit.
Listen.
And I think Randy Pitchford should have to pay it himself. I think he should have to mow lawns and shit until he can raise the money to pay off this $1 million. Mow some lawns, deliver pizzas, deliver papers in the morning, pick up a part-time job. Randy, you are culpable, you son of a bitch.
Let's see here. You know what? The thing is that I don't think 1.25 million is really going to hurt Sega all that much.
No, it's really not. That's money they didn't want to lose, but they're like, whatever.
Yeah, they'll just. I mean, it's not like Randy Pitchford gets fired over this.
I know.
They'll shut down one of their pachinko parlors and fire everybody there and be like, all right,
man. I hope Sega sends some Yakuza over to Randy Pitchford's place and just be like, hello, Mr. Pitchford. You know, a bunch of well-dressed Japanese guys in suits and with katanas and guns and dragon tattoos and like, so our gentlemen at Sega are displeased with what you have cost them lately. And Randy Pitchford's there. It was like, but Borderlands 3. And then they cut his dick off and say, we will have the rest of the money by Friday, Mr. Pitchford.
You know, Jason, I think it's a real shame sometimes that you aren't like the guy. Like, okay, I don't remember the name of his character. Who is the guy in the Warriors who stands on top of the tires and says, "Can you dig it?"
I don't know.
What was the name of that character?
I don't remember.
I want you to be that guy for 4chan. I want you to be the guy who stands on top of the tires that as 4chan to say, "Can you dig it?" to just lead them, because then you could actually direct them to where they needed to go. Was it Cyrus? Was that who it was?
Was it? Maybe. That sounds possible.
Let's see. Leader of the Grand Mercy. Yep, Cyrus. Yep, that's who it is.
Right on. Good job, Jeff. Yes, I humbly accept this position.
All right. Well, you know what? We got a couple of minutes before we hit our normal, like, kind of 1 hour stopping point. So there was one other thing that I wanted to do here real fast. And that was, now that both you and I have played the PT demo, and now that the PT demo has been apparently taken off of the PlayStation Network.
Oh, really?
Which Aaron told me happened today. So if you didn't download it, I'm going to sell my PlayStation for like $1 million in a year to somebody. I'm curious to know. I'm curious to get a little bit more information from you about what you think. Because when I was playing it, okay, so I played it the first time, and I missed so much because I was just running in circles. Like there's a whole puzzle where you got the word hello by the phone that one letter at a time go, and I was just running in a circle, and then eventually that happened, and I didn't even see it happen. We actually played it on last week's Sunday streaming, and I got a little upset because the chat was just like screaming at me to just do what they said and stop letting Kayla screw around with it. So eventually I got real pissed off, and I just started just reading instructions from the chat because I was just like, fine. Because, you know, sometimes that happens. But
I think that the game is very detail-oriented. You really have to pay attention. You can't go into this. You can't approach this like you're used to. Most of the puzzles are take it slow, pay attention, look very closely at everything, whether it's the whole hello puzzle or looking for pieces of the photograph on the wall.
Which can we all come to the conclusion that the start menu one was bullshit? That was bullshit.
I kind of like that.
Okay.
I kind of appreciate that. I found it by accident.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it by accident. I was like, wait a minute, what? But I don't know. I think that's kind of clever. It's I was like, oh, Kojima, pick up the second controller to defeat Psycho Mantis. You know, it was that kind of meta thing. And I'm okay with that. I was talking to Brushwood about this. He hates it. He hates that. Because it's like, okay, we're setting up the rules for the game for you, and you're playing these rules that we established, but we're going to change them and not tell you about it, which I get. That's kind of bullshit, but I don't know. I thought it was clever, and I thought it was a way for the horror of the game to kind of bleed into the real world. I thought that this was one of the scariest experiences I've ever had in watching a movie, reading a book, playing a video game, whatever. This was among the most frightening. It was just a terrifying atmosphere, and I was very, very unsettled by it and very surprised by that, because that never happens to me. You know, I'll watch any movie you put in front of me. I'll play any video game, but there was an overwhelming sense of dread when I was playing this video game. Now, that said, I put the game down at a point, and then I came back to it, and I picked it up again. Still very scary, but the final puzzle is so fucking inscrutable and stupid that I just said, all right, you know what? Fuck you. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't know how anyone figured this out. I do not know how. They must have had a leak or whatever from one of the developers. But I was looking it up online, trying to follow the instructions.
Yeah.
And I spent like over an hour trying to follow the instructions and I don't want to spoil it for anyone in case you actually want to try to solve it yourself.
Right.
But I was following these instructions on how to solve the final puzzle to the point where I finally just said, you know what? This is dumb.
Yeah.
This isn't a puzzle. This is just some stupid exercise in, all right, stand here and I'll tell you, I will nod if you're maybe doing something correctly. So, but that's all I'm going to give you. So just stand there and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to raise my hands. All right, I'm going to take my pants down. I'm going to pick my nose. Oh, you nodded? Okay, so maybe I have to pick my nose. Well, you have to pick your nose 10 times, but only after Everybody Wang Chung Tonight comes on the radio.
Right.
You know, and so it's so obtuse and frustrating. And it's just like, I know that that at the end of the teaser, it says this is not a sample of the actual game.
Right.
But I hope that is not indicative of what the actual game is going to be. Because if it is, fuck that.
Well, I think that the when I look at it, the problem that I had with it is that it's and this is a problem that I have with a lot of horror games, right? And horror in general. One of the things, I mean, there was like 4 or 5 people online who really, really, really did not like my attitude in playing the PT demo. And I'm sure that I'm like, okay, you know what? I was drunk, whatever. You give less of a shit about that. But the thing is that in something like PT, I feel like the game didn't give you any lessons on how you were supposed to play it, right?
Not at all. Not at all.
And that it was willing to let you bully past. Like, did you see the thing with the paper bag? Did you see that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Totally missed it. Went out of that room, ran through the door. Boom. Missed it entirely. The door, when the door closes, there's a part. Sorry, you guys. We're just gonna have like rough spoilers. We're gonna talk about anything specific because I don't know anything specific because it's kind of inscrutable. But like, there's a part where a door closes and it's dramatic. And somebody's like, "I can't believe you didn't see that." And I'm like, "Well, the game doesn't put any speed bumps in your way. So unless you're standing still looking at every single thing, which there isn't really that good of a gameplay reason to do, then of course you're going to miss stuff. Like, right?
Yeah. Well, the game was very much, I kind of respect that in a way. It was very much just presenting it to you and it's like, here you go. We're not telling you anything. I mean, I played for a while before I knew how to inspect things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
I walked around the flashlight in the place where you got to pick up the flashlight.
Yeah.
It's a good 10, 15 minutes of me just like, well, what do I do now? What do I do now? What do I do now? And eventually just happened to do it. And I guess the thing is that, I guess that's where I come down on the whole horror game thing is that I like horror games. I like the imagery and the mythology. I like storytelling of horror. I like a lot of the ideas that are in horror. But the problem that I have with the PT demo was that it was so inscrutable and it didn't give you – it didn't – I mean, I'm like, you know, I'm a fan of Dark Souls. I don't need a game to hold my hand, right? But there's got to be a tangible benefit for inspecting everything, right? And the fact of the matter is that every time you loop through that thing, there's usually only one thing to look at. So then you just end up looking at the same thing that you've looked at 100 times, 101 times, and there's nothing there. And so it at that point, I felt like it started to get boring to me. I mean, when I got to the redness, when the redness happened, couldn't figure out what to do. Ran around for like 30 minutes in a circle and was just like, I don't know what to do. So I had to stop and look it up online because I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Several of the puzzles in there are frustratingly obtuse. And everything that you're saying, I honestly don't disagree with it. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I think everything you're saying is on the nose. I really appreciated it, though, and I kind of had a respect for how weird and subtle things were, and for just kind of throwing you in there and letting you figure it out. But I think it took it too far, especially in the end. I still, however, really loved it for the atmosphere and the scares, though, because I thought those were very effective.
Sure, and definitely the stuff that there was a few things that I really did appreciate about that. I mean, there's a certain they really nailed a certain degree of the weird horror as opposed to like gory horror, which we talk about Resident Evil. I feel like Resident Evil is more like zombies with rib cages coming out of them, and then Silent Hill is more just like, what the fuck is going on here, man?
This felt like Silent Hill, you know? It really did feel like a tortured subconscious was being manifested into reality. And I mean, I was rattled after I played it, and I have never been able to say that.
I really wish that I could have put a camera on Kayla when she was playing it, because I already knew what was going to happen when she was playing it, and there was the first kind of one of the first big jump scares in the game.
Yeah,
and I knew exactly what happened because I've been editing my video, and so I'd seen it happen a whole bunch of times, and I knew it was going to happen. So I was just sitting there going,
"Did it get her?"
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yes. All right, folks. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to answer some of y'all's questions. We're going to just see how many we can kind of get through in the time that we've got left. Mail@rageselect.com is the email address. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, everybody, and we are back, and it's time to answer the questions. Are you ready? I feel like we need a soundbite or something. Like I just put a bunch of echo in my voice about the question.
The question.
And our first question comes in from Illegal Swede. And Illegal Swede asks a question that I'm sure that everybody wants to hear us talk about. He says, hey, guys, I've got a rather delicate topic today. I haven't read too deeply into this, but this is what I've gathered. Recently, there has been some controversy surrounding a feminist game developer and the fact that she slept with a number of game developers and game journalists in order to acquire publicity. Not only this, she has also fabricated an internet hate campaign in order to garner publicity. She purported that the campaign was committed by a forum for adult males who suffer from social phobia and anxiety. Although this was not true, gaming outlets and certain developers leapt to her defense without checking the facts because she was a woman. Following the revelation of her activities, a number of news articles, Twitter posts, YouTube videos, and subreddits pertaining to the subject have been censored and deleted. This includes a post by YouTuber Total Biscuit. I'm not sure if you guys knew about this already, and if you do, I was wondering what your opinions on the matter are. If you didn't, do you think it's right that someone used their gender in order to manipulate the system and thus profit from it? To reiterate, I haven't read too deeply into this and could be grossly misinformed. But anyway, thanks again, guys. And keep raging on, Illegal Swede. So I'm not going to make any real effort here to keep everybody knows who the fuck we're talking about, right? So we're not gonna dance around the names or whatever.
Yeah, guys, listen, all of the details about this are out there. Look it up. You won't have much trouble finding it. Someone asked me about it on Twitter, hoping I would side. Okay. Let me give you just a quick breakdown so everybody knows what we're talking about. This girl was with a guy. They were dating.
I think we could use her name, right? I mean, we don't have any.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Allegedly, and this is all allegedly. Who knows? Zoe Quinn, the developer of Depression Quest, which is a lauded indie game that teaching people about depression and the resources that are available to them. She was dating a guy in what seemed to be a tumultuous relationship, on again, off again, and then she ended up allegedly having sex with lots of other guys, like 5 other guys, a couple of which were journalists, game journalists.
I think there was only one. I think there was only one. One
okay.
was a game journalist. The other one, I believe, was her boss at the place that she works, at the development firm that she works at.
So she did that. But And so some people are saying, oh, well, she used her vagina to get better reviews and get publicity for her game. Maybe that was the case. What's your take on this, Jeff?
Okay, well, here's the deal. I mean, if you believe Stephen Totilo over at Kotaku put up a post that basically had a link to the one post by this guy, I believe. I'm just going to use everybody's names because this is pretty, I mean, nobody's tried to hide
it's all
this.
Out there.
Right.
It's all out
Nathan,
there. Well, she's tried to hide it. There's been a lot of things getting banned and deleted.
Let's go into
like that.
I mean, I think we should just kind of go over a few of the things that are known right now, and then we can get into kind of what we think about it. So Nathan Grayson, who's the guy, one of the writers over at Rock Paper Shotgun, and he also writes for Kotaku, apparently was one of the guys, and apparently, at least according to Stephen Totilo over at Kotaku, he only ever wrote one story about her, and it was long. It was before Depression Quest even existed as a thing, or she was still working on it. It wasn't like it wasn't like, hey, everybody check out this crazy gem that I found called Depression Quest. It was more about her on a show. I didn't actually read the article, so I was just skimming the surface of stuff while I was trying to do about 12 other things today. So there's that. There's also, when you come back, okay, so you come down to the whole things being deleted, things being taken offline, right? There's one video that I saw that was created by this guy. I can't remember his name. It was like something Matthew or something like that. It was one YouTube guy who created a video where he was basically just like kind of reading a bunch of stuff off of her ex's manifesto and talking about it. But the thing is that the original video that has been apparently taken down had a picture of her on it, right? And I mean, I'm not siding one way or the other, but what I'm saying is that, like, let's say that for generally speaking, I believe that we're all on the same page. It says that if you use a picture of somebody that you haven't gotten rights to use, that is technically not something that you're supposed to do, right? I mean, if you're talking about an opinion piece, I mean, like, at least on YouTube or whatever, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And there was actually, when Total Biscuit had a tweet longer thing where he talked about this briefly, and he brought up a good point saying that, and I'm sure that there's all kinds of evidence out there, I just don't want to look for it, that it's possible that this may have been an automated thing, or it's possible that it might have been her, it's possible it might have been somebody using her name. But it seems like that same guy put up that same video rendered out with a different image on it. It's still there. It's not taken down. It's not been hit or anything like that. There's also a whole shit ton of videos on YouTube that are talking about how much everybody hates her. Now, as far as subreddits being censored and deleted, there was actually a whole thing on Reddit where they talked about this. They said that what happened was there was a Reddit that was talking about this. And I think that this, from what I could tell, this is what happened. And this sounds more likely than the opposite, because there's still plenty of Reddits out there that are talking about this, but that somebody was trying to dox her on Reddit, and that Reddit has a very specific course of action that they do when that happens. They delete the thread. They try to delete anything pertaining to it. If it comes up again, then they start trying to find like the IP addresses and stuff. And I think that, once again, I don't know for sure, but from what they were saying, what this Reddit post was saying, it sounded like somebody was trying to dox her on Reddit. That thread got deleted. That thread had other people talking about the situation in it. And it was that being deleted that people thought, well, Reddit is trying to silence us on this. And that I think that it probably had more to do with the fact that they had people that were making junk accounts to keep reposting her personal details on there, and that their spiders and their admins were trying to keep that shit off there, because that's kind of a hateful thing to do to a person, right?
Absolutely.
So I went on Reddit and I found a whole bunch of stuff. There was stuff that had been deleted, but there was plenty of other stuff that was saying, I don't like her, she's a bitch, blah, blah, whatever. That stuff was still there. It wasn't all gone. It wasn't like they had just totally gone over it. Now, a third thing that has been that I've seen a lot on the internet today about this has been that, well, all the gaming websites, they won't talk about it. And I think that I don't know what to say about that. I don't know. It's hard sometimes to know whether or not, like, if this is a Kotaku editor and the story is about a person on Kotaku, I mean, goddamn, Jason, Kotaku will run anything about anything, right? They don't generally seem to be the sort of place that
right. They're kind of gossipy.
That shies away from it. The only thing that I could think of would be that they're trying to that they can't exactly report on this impartially, right? Because it's one of their own editors that's part of this. But anyway, all that's, in my opinion, at least, window dressing. Because I thought about this for a long time today, and I mean, you know, you tell me what you think, Jason, but what I thought about this was there are some people that are holding this up as essentially everything that's wrong with feminism in gaming. This harlot that has screwed over people, and she's sleeping around to people to get good reviews on stuff, and
you know. And maybe she was, but I think the blame, if they fell for it, is on the journalists. The journalists are the gatekeepers there. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll fuck you, but I'll still give you a negative review of your game. You know, that's on them. Blaming her for trying, sure, you can do that. But I think the blame more falls on the journalists, especially if they gave in to her vaginal wiles. But really, what this boils down to is this is a private thing between two people, and it should have fucking stayed that way. And then her jilted, cuckolded boyfriend wrote this long blog post, and it's like, man, come on. Keep that shit to yourself, because now you're just making everybody look like an asshole.
Well, okay. There is one part of this entire thing. I would say one thing and then come back to this, but there's one part of this entire thing that I think bears a certain amount of discussion, but probably not the way that people think that it does. So, in my opinion, what this comes down to is you cannot hold Zoe Quinn or this situation up as everything that's wrong with female game developers or blah, 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 or whatever. Some people think that think that Depression Quest got more press than it should have just because it was kind of a weird offshoot. I've played it. I don't really like it. Like, I don't know if you've ever played Depression Quest, Jason. It's basically a choose-your-own-adventure. It's like a bunch of web pages. You know, it's not really.
Although I have heard from people who suffer from depression that it has helped them greatly, and to me, that's all worth it.
Okay, so there's a certain contingency of people that when Depression Quest came out, you know, she got doxxed and attacked and stuff like that when Depression Quest came out because there were people out there that were like, "This isn't even a fucking video game. Get this whore and her fucking agenda." Blah 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 blah. And I think. My own personal opinion is that Depression Quest is an interesting side note. I think that it's one of those things that can lead to interesting stuff happening. It's the same as somebody putting on a one-person play or making a little indie film or something that's very personal, or drawing a comic that's very personal about their life. It's not the sort of thing that has any kind of universal merit, yes or no. Now, the other part of this that I feel is actually worth talking about is that some people have been saying that this is indicative of the way that the entire game's press operates as this kind of in-circle of people that people are trying to get in with, and that if you get in with them, then you can get press coverage of what you're talking about and kind of stuff. And I think there's some merit to talking about that because...
That's not just games press, though. That's just press. That is the constant threat you face with particularly any sort of entertainment-based media, whether it's movies or books or whatever. It's like, oh, hey, we flew you out to the premiere of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles expecting you to give a good review to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you got to meet Megan Fox and all this stuff. You know, that shit happens all the time, and it is incumbent on the journalist to rise above that. This is just something that has unfortunately gotten tied up in the whole geek feminism conflagration that has been in the zeitgeist lately.
I agree. That was absolutely perfect. So yeah, Zoe Quinn cheated on her boyfriend. I think it's shitty when people cheat on other people. I don't think,
absolutely. But it's also none of our fucking business. I don't know. I just think that this is a private thing between two people, and the journalistic integrity lies solely with the journalist, because throughout history, people have attempted to buy journalists, whether it's with money or favors or sex or whatever. It is incumbent on the journalist to maintain their integrity. So whatever. But as far as like feminism in games, it's like there are plenty of female developers out there who haven't used their vag to try to get good ratings and press. And so there is absolutely no reason that we should sink the whole thing of women in games just because one woman decided to fuck around. Because here's the thing. Men or women will fuck around. Not all of them, but it's going to happen. And hey, nobody's asking about, hey, all of these male developers, how many times have they fucked someone to get publicity or just to fuck someone? And you don't see, any news about Peter Molyneux or anything making the news. No, it was because she's an indie female developer, and she had a salacious post from her ex-boyfriend, and it was the sex that sells. And so that just created this firestorm. Let's keep everyone on an even playing field, and let's also keep everyone's bedroom shit in their bedroom and just not worry about it. Now, if Nathan Edmondson or whatever his name was providing good reviews and coverage for Depression Quest in exchange for a little stank on his hang low, then yeah, we go after him.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Okay.
Let's do it. No, that's a good topic. Lots of people are talking about it, but I think everybody just needs to mind their own damn business.
It's also one of those things where, I mean, any time that this whole debate comes up, I feel like everybody get very entrenched in their side, in what they think is absolute and right and things like that, and that none of this stuff there's no silver bullet solution to any of this shit. It's just an ongoing thing to think about, It's like I was talking with somebody the other day about the Bedkul test, right?
Right, which I think is fucking stupid, but whatever.
So here's the thing about it, is that I think that the websites that go down every movie that came out in 2014 and say yes they did or no they did not pass the Bedkul test, I think that's ridiculous. I think the whole point of that is that when you lay the Bedkul test out to somebody, and then there's that moment when they hear it for the first time, they just go, I don't think I can think of, like, you just start thinking about movies, right? And you're like, what was the last movie that I had that in it? But it's not the sort of thing to say that if only every single movie out there passed the Bedkul test, then, everything's fine now. It's not like that. It's an ongoing conversation that we all need to keep having, and nobody's 100% right, nobody's 100% wrong. It's just shit that happens. So that's a bad place to end that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Next question. Yes.
Let's move on.
All right. This next question comes in from Abran. 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 Okay.
Abran.
Hey, Jason and Jeff.
Yeah.
My name is Abran, and I have been a listener since the bar. My best friend is really jaded when it comes to movies. He says that he can always predict the ending and nothing surprises him. I was finally able to get him with Cabin in the Woods, but other than that, I can't think of anything else. Do you know any movies/TV shows that I could show him that he can't predict? Praise the dong, and forever may you ejaculate bees. Abran. Yes. I go with The Prisoner.
I haven't. Oh, The Prisoner. Yeah, there's no way you could figure that out.
I saw the end of The Prisoner, and even I don't know what the fuck happened there.
Yeah, no, The Prisoner is great. The Prisoner is fucking fantastic, and even if you watch it till the end, you have no idea what's going on. Maybe The Machinist.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's a good one, full of surprises.
I think you just tell your friend to stop watching movies, man. Like, I feel like I've known people at a certain point who are like that, and at that point, I'm just like, man, just give it up. Like, if you can't just stop thinking about what's going on in this movie, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just a question of, I've run into this before. We talk about spoilers, Jason, right? Is if you were able to figure out the end of every movie before like 10 minutes in, right? But it doesn't affect whether you like the movie or not, well, that's all right. Like, you don't have to be surprised.
Yeah. What some good movies that are unpredictable. Yeah, The Machinist. You nailed it with The Prisoner. That's one where it's like, yeah, even if you've seen it, I own it on Blu-ray. I still have no idea what the fuck was going on, but I really enjoyed it. What was it? Late 60s kind of sci-fi British weirdness. Kind of a classic, influenced a lot of the sci-fi that you're seeing today. Yeah, what else? No, I totally sympathize with your friend. I get it. I've been that guy where, you watch most movies, you can see where it's going because most movies follow a formula. They will put Chekhov's gun in look it up. They'll put Chekhov's gun in the scene, and they all follow a pattern. But some of them, there are a few that are genuinely unpredictable. But so as far as like finding those, that's a little tougher. Because most of them do follow the formula. When was the last time you were genuinely surprised by a movie, Jeff?
Let's see. I think that, I think that what I really, and it may color my opinion of the movie incorrectly, but I managed to go into Inception not knowing anything. And I really liked what I got out of that movie. Like it was a point right before it was like we were talking last week about like the news articles about the PT demo that are like, hey, everybody go play the PT demo, which is actually for the new Silent Hill. And it blah, 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 blah. It just says everything right there in the title. And then everybody on my Facebook feed's put there. I didn't know anything about Inception before I went into it, and I really liked it. I can tell you that The Matrix was another one that probably your friend has already seen, but that I didn't know anything going into that, and it was great. Fight Club, didn't have any goddamn clue what was going to be happening at the end. I thought I knew what was happening in Fight Club, and then like third act twist, and it was just like, whoa, all right.
Here's one that you might not really look at. Look at old noir films, because those are actually really difficult to anticipate. Maltese Falcon, Double Indemnity, The Big Sleep. I love those. And they are just or the Thin Man films. The Thin Man films, that's like I'm quoting here, that's as if Jason and Allison were detectives in the 1920s. So watch the Thin Man films. Thin Man, Return of the Thin Man Goes Home. Those are films that you can't really predict. And honestly, it's because they don't give you everything you need to predict it. Which is cheating, right?
Do you think it is?
I think it absolutely is. The best twists are predicated on, hey, we've given you everything you need to know, and you never noticed it. Mm-hmm. I think that is the best surprise in a film. But again, a film does not need a twist to be a successful story. It just has to surprise you from 1 minute to the next. Actually, one that and this is going to be minorly controversial, Kevin Smith's Red State. that went in weird directions that you would not anticipate. Yeah. I'm not attesting to the quality of the film. I liked it, but it would take right turns all the time, just at 90-degree angles. And so, yeah, I really appreciate a film that can surprise me, and that rarely happens. So I empathize with your friend. I get it. But there are still some films out there that don't follow the mold, that don't go by the recipe, which most production companies insist that you adhere to. You can still find films like that. And I think we've given you a couple of good examples. Mm-hmm.
What was I was looking at some lists of stuff here on the, what I was thinking was Hitchcock. Is that a lot of Hitchcock stuff is even predicated on, tell me about the concept, Jason, the film idea where the audience knows what's going on. And it's more like watching the people in the movie who don't know what's going on. Where you've got what do they call that? It's dramatic irony or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically the idea that there's something going on screen where the two characters that you're watching don't know what's happening, but the audience does. Yep. Let's say that, and I'm butchering Hitchcock's example, but there's a bag with a bomb in it under a table, and this bomb is ticking, but Jason and Jeff do not know that there's a bomb under this table.
Yeah.
And so it just builds the tension. Hitchcock was a fucking master at that. So watch some of his better films. Watch Rope, watch North by Northwest and Psycho and so forth, and Vertigo, and you will see exactly what he was capable of, because there are a few people who have been able to replicate that. The guy really was a genius, and I think, and I've been kind of harping on this in this question, but there's a lot of old films out there that you guys who want to be storytellers or who want to be told an amazing story can learn from. Go back into the past and watch these things. Let go of your predispositions and see all of these tricks that the master is teaching you. And yeah, I think we can learn a lot from that. Just because you're seeing something new, that doesn't mean that they have learned all of the tricks and legerdemain that have built up to that moment. In fact, in a lot of cases, they've probably ignored that, and they are just dazzling you with glitter and fireworks.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So I was looking through a list, and one last thing before we move on. There's about 4 Takeshi Miike movies that I think you should go see if you.
Oh, like what?
Not to know where shit's going. Gozu is a good one.
Gozu's so. I don't even think Miike knew what the hell was going on there.
I like some of his stuff. I mean, I think that Audition is a good movie, but I think I got it ruined for me because somebody told me the entire plot, and it was so scary in my head. It was so scary what I was imagining, and then when I watched
not
it,
at all.
And then I watched.
It's not a scary movie.
Yeah. Also, Visitor Q is an incredibly strange movie. I think everybody should watch.
I'm never going to watch Visitor Q.
Yeah.
I heard it was incredibly fucked up, and the reasons why it's fucked up. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Next up, this one comes in from Martin. Martin says, "Dear Jeff and Rocket Raccoon's human avatar." I guess that's you, Jason.
Is that me?
That's
okay.
you now. As a cynic towards indie games, I had an idea for an anti-indie game. Okay. Take any FIFA soccer game and change 2 things about it. 1, make the graphics 2D animation. 2, take the famous soccer players and design them as cute cats with each of their characteristics intact. 3, slap a name on there that's a pun about how it's a new soccer game, has to do with cats, and call it Mew Soccer. It would still be a regular soccer game with nothing changed the actual gameplay, but because of nostalgia/cute presentation, all the hipster fuckers would buy it. My statement is, this is not even a question. Indie games are now nothing but another part of the market like FPS games or sports games, the difference being that they're all marketed to feed off players' nostalgia and humor. Am I wrong or am I right? As a Dane, I raise my cup to you gentlemen and say, skull. I don't know why he says skull.
Skull or skull?
SKULL in all capital letters.
Oh, I thought it was SKOL, which is like a Scandinavian toast. But yeah, skull. Fuck yeah. Yes. What was his name again?
Martin.
Fuck yeah, Martin. Skull. Yeah, I think that's a little reductionist on his part.
Yep.
I think that a lot of indie games they're really just mainstream games masquerading as indie endeavors.
Do you?
I do.
Like what?
Yeah. Well, I can't think of anything specifically, but I know for a fact, and so do you, that there are plenty of quote-unquote indie games that actually have sizable budgets.
Okay, but let's see. I guess the question is, the problem that I have with this particular question is it depends on what you count as an indie game, right? Like, the developers behind Hohokum on the PlayStation were development team, but they had the publishing power of Sony and the as a publisher behind them. So are they indie or are they not indie? They're a smaller team.
That's the question. I mean, indie is kind of a specious term, right?
Yeah, I mean, Star Citizen indie at this point? I mean, it's technically, if you count indie as independently published, if that's what you're doing, which I feel like that's the place that's where that term came from, right? Was that or independently developed, I guess. You don't have a developer, you don't have a big company, you don't have an Activision or an EA. You're not an arm of a big developer. You're a bunch of people with a smaller budget or even a larger budget, but you're making your own game that doesn't have to ascribe to a specific set of marketing points and budget numbers and this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing. Now, I think that's very different. The whole thing is very different now than it was, Limbo, Braid, and Super Meat Boy, back in Indie Game the Movie days, right? That now shit's just packed. Like the whole channel on Steam is just choked to death with indie games. Like, you remember that Shadowgate game we looked at the trailer for? Oh yeah. Yeah, it came out this week. Just really? I was like, oh, okay. Kind of under the radar there, Shadowgate. Yeah. So it really, a lot of it is dependent on what you mean by indie. And I don't know. As far as, I understand what he's saying. I'm sorry. Did I cut you off in the middle of what you were saying, Jason?
No. Go ahead.
I feel that like part of what he's talking about with the whole, with his scenario of take a soccer game, make it 16-bit and make them all cats, is that's not necessarily something that's specific to indie games. All developers do that shit, right? Like, look at pick one. Look at Medal of Honor. Remember EA's Medal of Honor that came out like a year and a half ago? Where they're like, let's take Call of Duty, but we're going to make that shit real. We're going to base it on actual real operators, and we're going to make it a lot more gritty and realistic, and we're going to put it out, and it's going to do great. And of course it doesn't. Or you look at... I'm trying to think of the stuff that I've played. Like, you can... there's the elevator pitch for just about every single game that's out there that's just take game X and do Y to it, right? Where you're like...
Right.
I'm trying to think of an indie game. Name an indie game for me, Jason. Just anyone.
Ho-Hokum.
Ho-Hokum. Ho-Hokum. No, that's not a good one. I don't have my elevator pitch ready for Ho-Hokum. Or I was thinking of Banner Saga, right? Like, you look at Banner Saga. Well, what's your pitch? Say, well, Banner Saga, it's XCOM, but it's Norse mythology. Boom. Like, that's, you could say, well, what is Banner Saga? It's just XCOM is all it is. Or look at any Dota variant. It's just the exact same thing. Like, reducing it to this formula, I feel like there's an actual budgetary reason why a lot of indie games have 16-bit graphics, and it's because it's easy to handle engine-wise, it's easy to handle animation-wise, and we are trained to accept a lot less work when it comes to 16-bit /8-bit /pixel art graphics than we are with 3D. When we look at 3D, we want it to have a certain fidelity. We want it to have a certain... like I've said before, there's very few games that can get away with making PS1-era lo-fi 3D graphics and having people have nostalgia for that and look at it and just accept it. And you're going to look at it and go, ugh, that's gross, right? But if we put 16-bit looking graphics out there, people are like, yeah, sure, that looks great. They don't
right.
They don't stop at the graphics and go, ooh, that's ugly. They just go past that to see whatever it is that you're actually doing.
Yeah.
At least that's how I think about it. I thought you would have more vitriol for this particular question, or more not vitriol for the question, but more. I know that over the years, your relationship with indie games, Jason, has been somewhat tumultuous.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Jason.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God damn it.
Shit.
Oh, man. I held my breath for a long time. It's cold out there. Oh,
How did he
there
even
must have been
get
some
back
kind
in?
of mix-up. I mean, you told me.
I think he picked the lock.
You told me to look outside. I checked the power couplings and everything looked fine. And you must have I guess there was a mistake because all of a sudden I was on the outside.
I thought you were totally back in,
And
dude.
I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
I get to use the space shitter. Hold on.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and
Cold out there.
go ahead and poop. God damn it, he's back. He survived. What the fuck, man?
I don't know what to do. Man. All right, I'm gonna start. We're starting to get a little bit long here, and I have a feeling that when Brian comes back, yeah. So let's see. I'm gonna pick another one. Here we go. This is a good one. You ready, Jason?
Ready.
Quick one. This is from Marcus K. Marcus K says, "All hail Jason and Jeff, archbishops of House Dongacles and masters of Game Fu. It is widely known that movies based on video games tend to be awful, such as Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, and Wing Commander. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wing Commander is a cinematic masterpiece. I could go on. Ugh, damn it, Hollywood. Documentaries about video games like King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, and Indie Game the Movie tend to be excellent, well-made, and very informative. So my question is, what part of video game culture would you like to be made into a documentary? Could be a specific game, video game company, trend in video game culture like esports and Let's Players, anything regarding video game culture. Thank you in advance for answering my question. I'm glad to say I'm a Patreon subscriber. I believe in supporting Rage Select because you all supported me the best at the best and worst times in my life. May Rage Select live on. May the shadow of Dogacles protect you all. And may Jason Murphy conquer the galaxy and put Thanos in his goddamn place.
Yes.
Marcus K.
You go first.
I think there are a lot of really interesting things in video games that you could look at. I honestly think that if you were to make some kind of documentary, I mean, like, I know how this sounds coming out of my mouth, Jason, right? But I think that making a documentary about Let's Plays and the way that Let's Plays have become a thing, it would actually probably go a long way towards pushing that particular thing more into a more legitimate space and seeing it recognized as something. If a documentary crew is able to show the amount of work that a lot of people put into doing this stuff, and we're able to show, kind of a montage of people that are good at it and stuff like that, maybe with some puppets or something. No, I'm just kidding. I think that Let's Plays are a thing. They're not going anywhere. I don't think they're a fad. I don't think they're going to be leaving the scene anytime soon. And so I think that there are a lot of people who play video games who just have never run into this sort of thing before. And I think that it would be an interesting topic of conversation. I also think that there's a lot of stuff, though. But go on.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see something about the early Miyamoto days of Nintendo, like the creation of Mario, the creation of the original Legend of Zelda. I think that would be a big one because I've read interviews with Miyamoto where he's talking about what he wanted, how Mario inspired him, how the Legend of Zelda, how he was inspired to create the Legend of Zelda by playing in his rock garden and stuff like that. That's what I'd like to see. Stuff that really mines the arcana, or even stuff about the heyday of arcades and Nolan Bushnell and Chuck E. Cheese and stuff like that, and Atari and everything. We really haven't seen much about that.
Yeah, I think that we may have said this a long time ago, but I think that a documentary or at least some information around the video game crash of '83 would be probably fascinating.
Oh, yeah. That one ends on a down note.
Yeah. Well, at this point in time, we know that there's a happy ending, or at least a moderately happy ending to that particular story, since we're here right now with PlayStations and Xboxes and shit like that, right? Yeah, I think that there's also, I think you could make, I was trying to think of the best way to phrase this, but I think that there is and I'm not even just talking about like, in general game development or anything, but I feel that there are weird currents in gaming fans that I think would be interesting to see. Not even like, I don't even know if I would want like a documentary, but like maybe like a series of shows, right? Where every week you can focus on it. Let's go. This week we're going to spend an hour. We're going to talk about esports. Where did esports come from? What's esports look like? We're going to interview a few people. This week we're going to talk about JRPGs. We're going to say, like, where's the history of JRPGs? Here's what's going on currently. JRPGs, blah, 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 blah. This week we're going to talk about, indie games, right? And do a quick one about indie game development. I actually would love to see I would watch that TV show if they had one that was just every week picking a little section of gamer culture and just going, yeah, let's talk about that for an hour. Because I think you could probably do at least a full season worth of that on the Discovery Channel or something like that. I don't know.
I think that would actually be a worthwhile series, or at least a mini series, there's so much and it really hasn't been mined yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I've got a very pertinent question here from our friend Cortovos. And he says, or she, I'm not sure. Dear Masters of Rage Select and High Priest of the Mighty Dongocles. Okay, we're getting into alternate spellings of Dongocles. I have a question for you. What changes in your behavior when you are drunk? I, for one, become more tired, but also my brain jumps into high gear and my mouth just starts working on its own. During my high school years, every time I had a philosophy exam, a verbal exam with just a lot of bullshitting, I would get wasted. Also, I get the munchies when I am drunk. So what is your reaction to a ridiculous amount of alcohol, and have you ever deliberately gotten drunk to take advantage of the effect alcohol has on you? With kind regards, Cortovos.
I actually get, believe it or not, more mouthy. I turn into more of an asshole, and I get more bombastic and loud and horrible. I turn into a real piece of shit. And I'm not always mean, but I'm always like laughing and sarcastic but I'm also very loving, very loving. Yeah. I'm just, it's all id. It just strips away everything else, and it's just the id monster coming out to play.
I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with the Mr. Hyde, the Lone Star Mr. Hyde Murphy. Also, it's worth noting that, as we've talked about previously, there's different sorts of drunk Jason. There's whiskey drunk Jason. There's Lone Star drunk Jason. There's like tequila shots drunk Jason, which I haven't really met at this particular point in time. But whiskey Jason's a little bit more aggressive than raspberry vodka Jason. So
hey, fuck you. You don't know shit. Wait, what am I drinking? Oh, Jameson's. Okay, maybe you're right.
I don't remember that much. I just remember that I enjoy drinking, and you generally tend to feel it tends to be the only thing that can get the fucking stick out of my ass and make me relax for 10 minutes. And
you do get much more enjoyable when you're drunk. I hate to say it, but you do.
It's one of those things that I recognize on my own, and I go, well, that's a horrible thing to know in your brain, right? That I should just be wasted all the time, right?
Yeah, because as some of you may know, Jeff, when he's sober, kind of uptight.
Got a big stick in my ass. I understand.
Little bit. Yep. Little bit. By big stick, you mean like a tree from Kashyyyk.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I have a good time when I'm drunk. I usually come up with all kinds of great ideas the moment that I'm drinking. Like I think this might have been like a part of the Oatmeal or something. There was a comic that I saw that was like how being drunk tends to stimulate your creativity, and then coffee tends to stimulate the focus in you. So if you want to come up with an idea, you should drink. And then once you have that idea and you want to work on it, you should drink coffee instead of alcohol. But yeah, I've had a few people in my lifetime over the years comment that they're like, boy, you're a weirdly different person when you're drunk as opposed to when you're sober.
I wouldn't say you're different, really, but there is a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wish I didn't get so goddamn hungover. I'd probably, if there's plenty plenty of in the United States. We've got a pretty long track record of like, you go have dinner and have like a couple beers, and then you watch TV or do whatever and go to bed, right? But like, I could have one beer and I'll have part of a hangover the next day when I wake up. It's probably just from not sleeping, but
yeah, you don't exactly treat your body like a temple.
It's outside of the sleeping thing and smoking. I exercise a little bit sometimes. Anyway.
Yeah, sell that shit somewhere else, buddy.
All right, next question comes in from Hyphenator437. He says, Dear, and this is more of an informative email than anything else. Dear Rage Masters, I have a problem. I love Rage Select, but I live alone, and I don't have a steady job right now. I'm currently going to college and have a checking account that my grandparents gave me for school purposes only. How can I justify to my grandma my need to put money towards the Rage Select Patreon? Longtime fan, Hyphenator437.
You know what? Show Nana an episode, because Nanas love fucking Rage Select. They get wet for it. I'm not even kidding.
I almost feel like we should produce a video, right, that our younger fans can show to their parents to get their credit card for Patreon. Like, we'll have a shell version of Rage Select that's all about like life advice from two upstanding. Oh, hello everyone. I am Jeff. I am an architect, and this is my friend Jason. He publishes books for a living, right? Like,
right? Yeah. Yeah. It is a critique of new media.
Sorry, Hyphenator. I don't have. I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to steal money from your grandma to get Patreon videos. I'm
not saying you shouldn't.
Hey, you know what you could do is you could like go sell some blood. I'm sorry, I just realized that I've become an advocate for vampirism at this point.
Blood, let's not stop with blood. You got 2 kidneys, you only really need 1.
Well,
I mean, come on.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the thing is that if you could rustle up, put it this way, man.
Do you want to filter toxins out of your body? Or do you want more Rage Select?
Who really wants to filter toxins out of their body when you really come right down to it?
That's the good shit, man.
No, like if you, okay, so here's the deal, Hyphenator. Can you get yourself together like $20? Yes? Well, then congratulations. You've got 10 months of donating $2 a month to Rage Select. Like, great. You managed to do it. We don't have a cap on that thing just yet. And I don't like to encourage people to donate the minimum amount possible. Like, the amount of work that I put into this shit, I kind of like more than just, 1 cent from you every month. But yeah, if you got like $1 or $2, yeah, throw it in there. Like, if everybody throws in $1, if everybody who watches or listens to Rage Select threw in $1, well, then we would have a lot of dollars per video. No. $1 a month,
and we appreciate. We got some people who we appreciate everybody that contributes.
Absolutely.
Some of you way more than others, but if it's gonna put you in some sort of financial hardship to do it, don't fucking do it, man.
Yeah,
you just don't get all of the delicious extra videos that we send out every week.
I feel like this is with one hand. You're like, no, buddy, it's fine. If you don't want this delicious steak that I've got in my other hand, no, it's fine. I understand. I don't know what to tell you, Martin. Show her a video. Be like, I think these guys deserve $5 every month. What do you think, Grandma? She'd be like, well, I don't understand those boys. And you could be like, no, it's fine. I know them. They're great. All right, this next one's our throwback question for the week. Comes in from Carlos. Carlos says, greetings, gentlemen. This is probably one you've answered before. If by the grace of our almighty Dong Lord you were given the power to magically resurrect and complete any canceled project from any media, which would it be? If you can, try to avoid some of the more obvious answers that typically get thrown around in discussions like this. Thanks. Stay classy, loyal fan and patron, Carlos.
Wait, what was the question again?
If, by the grace of our almighty Dong Lord, you were given the power to magically resurrect and complete any canceled project from any media, which would it be?
Oh, shit. I had a good one for this, and I can't remember it. Okay. No, I got it.
All right.
Star Wars 1313.
Ooh, that is a good one. That is a good one. I don't know if Prey 2 has been officially canceled yet, but if it has, man, that shit looked like the shit. It was awesome. But I got a better answer than that. I'll tell you what I want back, Jason. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
You'll never guess.
I will never guess.
I want Halo back. And
wait, what?
I don't want
Halo hasn't gone anywhere, dude.
No, I don't want Halo after Microsoft bought Bungie. I want Halo when Bungie was Bungie all by themselves, because I watched the tech demo they did at Macworld originally for Halo when it was going to be some kind of weird hybrid of RTS and shooter game where it was going to be about conducting this guerrilla warfare and it's going to have strategy elements into it. And those little fucking guys and the bird guys, they weren't in there. It was just like, you're fighting Covenant, and guess what? They're stronger than you and they're better equipped than you and they own the Halo, and you're just running this guerrilla war against them with your warthogs and shit. You got to be smart about how you fight them. Like, I've watched that video 100 times back in the old days, and that shit was great, and I really wanted to play it. And then it got picked up by Microsoft. It was like, okay, I'm not gonna spend time banging on Halo. You Halo fans that always feel the need to jump on me. But on the other hand, I really wanted to play that game, and the game that came out that Microsoft put out was a great find. It was a good game, but it just wasn't that game, and that was the game that I really wanted to play. So, man. Also, I wish that I said just a couple weeks ago on the podcast, but I wish that Advent Rising hadn't been such a fucking horrific shit show, and it got the trilogy.
That was the Orson Scott Card one, right?
Yeah.
That
was before he went crazy and all the rest of it.
I don't know if it was before he went crazy.
Well, he wasn't publicly crazy. Or he didn't
publicly crazy.
He didn't announce his crazy to the world. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and skip this one, and we have one more very short question, then we're going to go ahead and wrap shit up.
All right.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at screenshots of Prey 2 now. Prey 2. All right. Hail Raging Kings. Need a landmark decision passed down. Is it a spoiler to say that the villain dies at the end of a video game? Finest Wigs. Sam? Wait, Finest Wigs. I don't
understand I don't understand a lot of that.
Okay.
What's happening?
Okay. So, is it a spoiler to say that the villain dies at the end of a particular video game? Like, if I'm talking to you about
in general,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on the game, really, because sometimes the bad guy gets away, right? But I don't know. I don't see that as much of a big deal, really.
I mean, there's a fair assumption that we have that at the end of most video games, the villain dies. So I can understand maybe the point of view that I could kind of understand the point of view of saying that it's not really a spoiler because you assume that it's going to happen for most games anyway. But it is a story thing. You know what? I would honestly say it kind of depends on the game, right? That, like, if you're talking about like a big RPG, that might be more information. Well, I don't know. Quite frankly, I land on the side of, like, the less information that you're giving somebody who doesn't want information, the better. If a person says, like, hey, does that guy die at the end of the Half-Lives? Then you could be like, yeah, he bites it. Or whatever happens. I don't know. I never finished episode 2.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the game. Use your judgment. Don't be an asshole about it, But, I mean, yeah, it's like, Bowser falls into the lava at the end. Yeah, whatever. Is that a spoiler? Not really. Whatever, But yeah, I mean, it depends on the game, really. If that is really important to a person enjoying the game, how it ultimately ends, then don't fucking tell them.
Yeah. I mean, if it's that's as good as any. At this point, I just think I've gotten to the point where it's just like, just don't tell me anything. Just quit telling me stuff about what you know about this. It's like, well, in the developer interview, they said blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that what I would have loved last week, Jason, is if people had been like, hey, Jeff, you got to go play that PT demo. And then I did, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was going to be. Instead, like I said, my Facebook feed was just full of people who were posting. I don't even blame the people. I blame the assholes who are writing headlines that basically tell you every single thing that you need to know in the headline, because then when that shit gets posted to Facebook, well, congratulations. In the act of reading it, I now know things that I don't want to know. So I just say, as much as possible, just keep it to yourself. Just keep it to yourself. What does it matter? Find people that have already beaten that game or done whatever, and then talk with them about it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, just be decent about it. Use your common sense, right?
Yeah. Yep. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you have a question that you want to send into the podcast, send it to mail@rageselect.com. The email address is mail@rageselect.com. And we'll be back next week. Jason, do you have any idea where your travels will be taking you next week, or do we have to wait? Is it a different time or a place? Can you give me one of the two?
Can't even tell you. Nope. You gotta stay tuned. You're gonna be surprised.
You just gotta put that shit on random and then just spin the wheel.
I wonder if that's a feature of this little police box place.
Just put it on shuffle, man. It'll be fine. All right, folks, take it easy. Have a good weekend, and we'll see y'all next week.